Hi everybody, it's Mercy and I'm back again with another video. This one is a request on one of the videos that I had posted about the spellbinders that I bought. Lena Bailey had requested to see how you use the spellbinders, and I know that it's St. Patrick's Day is already over, but I decided that I'm gonna send out Easter cards, which I had already made a video about that. But one of the people that I'm sending Easter card to, she's Irish, and she's like really, like, she gets tattoos of them and everything else. Like, she's the one person that I know that is really Irish. So I wanted to make a little card for her, like a St. Patrick's Day card, and I know that it's going to arrive there afterwards, but I figured that I would use my Celtic motifs and Celtic accents that I got the other day, and I would try them out, cut them all out, and then try to see if I can make a card out of them, and at the same time I can show how to use the spellbinders themselves. So I figured this was going to be a multi-purpose video. So here we go. Alright, so this is the Celtic motifs and this is the Celtic accents, and they're on here. I don't know which one is which. I try to keep them separated, but I'm not exactly sure. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my Cuttlebug. I have a Big Shot Pro, but that is like a ginormous machine, and I'm not going to use that because that's just like ridiculous huge. So I'm going to get my Cuttlebug. I'm going to get it a little bit closer. And then the Cuttlebug brings with it different plates, and mine are super well used. They bring 2 B plates, which are thinner than the 1 C plate that comes in, because the C plate is like huge. And then it brings an A plate. So when you're going to use these wafer thin dies, you have to use your A plate. You use your A plate almost all the time, your C plate, and then you're going to use 1 B plate. So what I'm going to do is I have some different green papers here. I don't even know if these are going to be the ones that I'm going to end up using in my on my card, but I figured I would go ahead and try them out here. So what you do is you just put the die up, and then you put the paper down, whichever way you want to have it. It could cut either way, it doesn't make a difference. Now the one thing is that this particular die is, let me measure it, is 8 3/4 inches, and this I believe is only, it's 7 3/4, so it's not going to fit the whole entire thing. However, since I was going to make a card anyway, it's not like if it was going to fit the whole thing anyway. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to set it up here, and I am going to cut part of it and then slide it down, because my paper will go. So then you just set it on here, and yes, it's going to crackle and crack. And then I'm just gonna slide it down. I guess I should probably get that on camera, right? And I'm just gonna set it down. And it doesn't really matter if you put the die on the top or on the bottom. Sometimes you will find that your die will, you see, so it cut it out. Sometimes you'll find that your die itself will not stay straight, and it'll sort of like warp and start going up. However, sometimes you're supposed to use it this way with the paper on top, but I've also used it this way, and it doesn't really make that much of a difference. So then once you have this, you just basically pop it out, and then you have to be super duper careful to pop it all the way out. Now, if you find that the die itself has a tendency of breaking, then what you do first is you run it on wax paper, and you cut the wax paper first. Once you put the wax paper on it, then the wax sort of stays on the die itself, and then it pops out much easier. But this is what it comes out to be. Let me show you guys on top of here. And I think that came out pretty darn cute. So that's one of the dies. And then they do have a tool that has like a little brush to it for you to take out all of these things. I don't have it. I really want to get it, but I don't have it. But if anything, what you can do is get your little paper piercer, you know, the little, this sharp tool, and then you go in and pop them out. And then they pop out. So you can also do that. But if you run it through wax paper first, it comes out like a dream. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and start cutting some more stuff just to see what it does. So I'm going to, I don't know, I like putting it face down just so that way I can see that it's going to be on the paper. And you just sort of play around to see if it's going to cut it all or not. I try to fit as much stuff on one sheet of paper. That's just me. I should have probably done that on like the edge, the long one on the edge. But, you know, that would have just been smart of me. Why would I have done that? You know? Why not just sit here and try to finagle everything? Where's the fun in that? So I'm gonna put this on there again and run it through. And then they also have an embossing pad for this. Let me show you that while I have it on there. Oh, if I only knew where my embossing pads are. I've been moving stuff around in my scrapbook room, so it takes me a second. Okay, so then there's this thing called embossing pads, and they have 2 of them. And they look like this. They're just like pieces of rubber. And then I also have in here just some pieces of paper that I've had throughout the years, because sometimes you find that they don't emboss quite right. So what I do is I just take the sandwich, I slide off the C plate, leave my A plate because you're gonna need that. Go ahead and turn it, and then hopefully everything stays in place. And you go ahead and you put your embossing mat on it. And as you can see here, some of it will not get embossed, but I'll run it through a second time. And now that you have this adds thickness to it. So you do not need to put the C plate. Now you're going to use the other B plate. Put them on top of your A and then run it through. And you'll know if you made it too thick. So these pieces of paper are like those recollections. Let me see if I have one that still has, yeah. This is the pack that it came from. It's one of those recollections assorted pack, 5.5 by 7.5 sheets. And then I have 1, 2, 3 sheets is what I have for mine, and I use that as well. So now that it didn't do the other side, this little piece, what I'm going to do is I'm going to push it down, put my shims in here, that's what they call them, and put everything there, so that way it'll emboss that one little area. And you don't have to run it all the way through, I just do. And then you take the shims and the embossing plate out, and you take it off. Oops, that one fell. And then now, which you probably aren't going to be able to see, but the edges, let's see with one of these, if you can see it a little bit better. You have to be super careful. Again, if I would have done the wax paper, this would have been so much easier. You really can't see it, but it's embossed now, so you can feel it. Let me see if I can get some ink, because when you ink it up, it defines it a little bit more. Alright, let's see what color I want to do this with. Let's try with a light color just to see. No, you really can't see it that well. I'll try it with the next one. And this is that Colorbox Cat Eye. I love these because that way I don't have to have a dauber. See, that's a little dark, but in order for you guys to see the embossing, it like raises it. I don't even know if you guys can tell on camera or not, but it does. Let's see. There. So now you can see where it, this is so weird for me. So you can see it a little bit. It brings it out a little bit. Let me show you another one. So without inking it, this is what it looks like. So you can see that it is raised somewhat, but when you ink it, it gives it a little bit more definition, and it's always better if I have my hand there. So okay, so I'm just gonna go ahead, finish cutting everything out, and then I'll try to figure out what it is I'm gonna make. Alright, I decided, since I'm going to cut this one out, and this one is super intricate, it has like a lot of things in it. I got myself a piece of wax paper, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it out first with the wax paper just to make it easier for me. So I'm going to put my piece of paper away for now. I'm going to go ahead and cut it. I have my A plate, my C plate, and now I'm going to put my B plate on it, and all I'm going to do is cut out the wax paper with it. So you cut the wax paper, and as you can see, the wax paper, it does cut out. It doesn't cut out completely, but what it did is it coated the dye, and that's what I needed it to do, is to coat the dye a little bit with wax. So now I'm Alright, let's see. Let's see what happens. Alright, so as you can see, it comes out really much easier when you put the wax paper. It comes off much easier once you put it on. And I had to run it through quite a few times because apparently, I don't know, like, this is kind of weird. The middle part here didn't want to cut out. I don't know if maybe the depth of the dye is different in the middle than it is out here, but here didn't really want to cut out, so I had to like really go back into the machine quite a few times to get it to go. And also like I had to put shims on it, which, you know, I wouldn't suggest doing that with everything else that you have, because your machine can break. So I don't know, this might just be a Spellbinder fail. Alright, so I ran it through the emboss as well. No, I didn't. I surely did not, because I was just so, there we go, line it up. And sometimes it lines up well and sometimes it doesn't, so. I don't think this will do anything, right? Because at this point I'd already cut it. I don't think it'll do anything. I'm just gonna leave it off. Put this thingy back on. Oh, shish kebab. You know, sometimes it just... Okay, I am back, and this time I'm going to show you the completed card. Just to let you know, I went ahead and I cut out all the pieces for them. I embossed all the pieces, and then I even, whatchamacallit, I even, distressed the pieces, and, I ended up finding that I didn't use all of the parts for the card. So these are my leftover pieces that I did not use on the card, and then I ended up having to make a couple more. So this is the card, and it's still a little wet. Hopefully you guys can see all the shimmer and shine. I wasn't exactly sure if I should have added all the glitter to all the parts to it, but what happened was that I went ahead and I laid stuff down. So what I laid down was this part here, which was the long piece. And since it was so long, but the ends of it, let me show you on the die. Okay, so the ends of the die, I'll do it this way. All right, the ends of the die have an actual stop point to it. What I did is that I cut it, I laid it down, and then I cut it right here in half, and then I put the other part here and I cut it in half. And since I was gonna have the medallion in the middle of it anyway, you really can't see that it is attached in the middle. So I did that so that way I could have these two end pieces, one on one end and one on the other. Then I laid down the medallion, but it looks so plain. So I was originally going to use the little tag piece that at this point I've thrown out. Let me see if I see it. Here it is. Alright, so originally I had used the little tag piece, which looks like this. And I was going to try to like tuck it in somewhere so that way it could have like Happy St. Patrick's Day on it. Let's see if it will focus. I'm hoping it's focusing. But since it has the little grommet here, like to put a little brad in here, and then it has this little decorative piece, it didn't look right. It didn't fit anywhere on my stuff. So what I ended up doing was cutting it, the little ends pieces off, and then I wrote here Happy St. Patrick's Day. But I didn't like the way that my handwriting looked. So I chucked this piece, and then I ended up making this into a flower. with the other pieces that I had. So let me show you this again. Okay, so I ended up using this large medallion piece, this piece, and this piece to make the flower. So I have the large medallion, this piece in the middle, and then this piece right here. So how I did that was that I just took them and then I sort of crinkled it a little bit in my hand to give it like a little bit more of a texture. So if you see, it's a little raised on the card. It gives it a little bit of a 3D kind of effect. And then I put that on the card. And then when I put it down, it looked very blah because this paper doesn't have like a lot of interest to it. So what I did is I went ahead and I stickled the outside. I originally stickled the outside medallion with the Distress ink, which is called Peeled Paint, and it's a darker green, but I found that it matched the color of the paper too much. So then I ended up going back over it with some lime green, regular Stickles lime green, and that gave it more of a, I don't know, like more of a St. Patrick's leprechaun-y kind of color to me. So I used that, and then since I didn't want it to be like totally all green, I went on the second one, I used the gold, and this is just Stickles Gold, and I used that for this one. Then I used lime green here again, and this is actually a brad. It's one of the big huge brads. I don't even know where I found it. This is like been in my stash forever, and I cut the backing off of it, you know, the part that actually goes, the little wires that go in the back. I cut that and I put a pop dot on it, and then I glossy accented it down, and then I had the little corner piece here, and then I said, oh, that would be cute to put all the corners. So what I ended up doing is I took it and I cut out 3 more so that way I would have it for all 3 sides. And when I put it down on the paper again, it looked kind of blah, like to have this all blinged up and this like not blinged up. So what I did is I just blinged everything up, and that's what the card looks like now. You can see it on camera how shiny it is. So I haven't filled out the inside of it yet. And oh, I forgot to tell you, the background itself of the card is the bricked embossing folder. I think that's a Tim Holtz one. So that's what the card ends up looking like. I think it came out really cute. It's very simple, but I think it's really nice. I hope you guys like it. I have to answer the phone now because that's my hubby who keeps on calling me. So just wanted to come back and show you guys the finished product. Thanks everybody for watching. Please leave a comment, subscribe, and like the video if you like it. Thanks. Bye.